Donald Trump wins the presidency.
It's the Batshit.
I'm very highly educated. I know words. I have the best words.
Crazy Pants.
It is time to drain the swamp in Washington, D.C.
Super Show.
But we are transferring power from Washington, D.C. and giving it back to you, the people.
Helping you navigate this Batshit Crazy Pants world.
So I got a president who likes me now.
Look at those hands. Are they small hands?
Are you totally deranged?
And now, your bus driver, Matt Stevens.
With the Republican House and Senate, we will immediately repeal and replace the disaster known as Obamacare. It's a disaster. With the Republican House and Senate, we will immediately repeal and replace the disaster known as Obamacare. It's a disaster.
Yes! Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Batshit Crazy Pants Super Show. As always, I am your host, Matt Stevens. We do a little earlier on Friday. You know, I got stuff to do, folks. I got a life to live. So we're going to do only a half hour today. I know you're probably happy to hear that. But we're just going to play it one more time because this is spectacular. It's spectacular.
With the Republican House and Senate, we will immediately repeal and replace the disaster known as Obamacare. It's a disaster.
Oh, man. It just keeps getting better and better. That, of course, is the phenomenal Tom Hanks in one of the most underrated movies of all time, The Money Pit. If you haven't seen it, see it. You will laugh. It is funny. Why are we laughing? Well, if you literally just woke up from a coma that you've been in since, November, or if you woke up a couple minutes ago and you decided to turn me on, then you know that the House did not vote today on the Trump bill. They pulled back the vote. It was so easy, right? For 7 years, they've been telling you this.
My first day in office, I'm going to ask Congress to put a bill on my desk getting rid of this disastrous law and replacing it with reforms that expand choice, freedom, affordability. You're going to have such great health care at a tiny fraction of the cost, and it's going to be so easy.
It's going to be so easy. It's going to be so easy because you know what?
With the Republican House and Senate, we will immediately repeal and replace the disaster known as Obamacare. It's a disaster.
Now, either immediately is a relative term and can mean any amount of time that you deem to mean immediately, or you done screwed it up. And here's the thing, guys. This isn't on Paul Ryan. This isn't on the American Freedom Caucus of weirdos, whatever they called themselves. I don't know. Here's the thing. Whatever they're calling themselves is literally the exact opposite of what they actually are. But we'll get to that later. This is an epic fail by one person. And you can say, Matt, it's not that simple. It is that simple because he sold himself as the guy, right? He sold himself as the guy who can get stuff done, who can get people to do things, who can get people to want things that they don't want and make them want those things. He told us he was that guy. He can get everybody to work together. If we have a Republican House and Senate, we will repeal and replace Obamacare immediately. On my first day in office, I asked the people, I asked the senators to send me bills. This is on one person. Now, there are people to blame. There are absolutely people to blame. It's a terrible bill. It's a terrible bill. And moderate Republicans are scared of the crazy whack job, crazy loony pants Freedom Caucus Republicans. And they all scattershot. We talked about this yesterday. They all went in different directions. They're not having this for the same reason. Republicans are in a 3-tier system right now. You have moderate Republicans, which are wholly outnumbered, but with dealing with the other batshit crazy pants loony side of the party, it's a great force. And you have the ones in the middle. So this whole thing has caused this to completely unravel. And in a hysterical, beautiful, brilliant, amazing piece of just, when something just falls in your lap and you're like, oh, thank God. You have this. It's beautiful. Kansas Republicans today. This is the Senate. They passed this in the House recently. Kansas Republicans today voted to expand Medicaid. What is going on? Our national rhetoric doesn't match. Now, the House has already passed this. These are Republican-controlled. Now, they might be a little bit more moderately because Kansas has gone so completely round the bend that the only place they could go next was moderate because I'm pretty sure Satan's busy. That would be the next person, right? Like, the worst Republican in Kansas is like one step. And the next guy who shows up who's worse than that guy, you're going to hear this.
If you're here, who's guarding Hades?
Exactly. They can't get any worse. They had to go the other way, right? So you have them pass. Now, it was a voice vote, and they're pretty sure it's going to pass. I think they're going to go do it again on Monday, and I'm pretty sure it's going to pass. I don't know, because things can happen over the weekend. Donald Trump could call a couple people and threaten, to take their golf membership away. I don't know. Something crazy could happen. But as of now, they voted in a voice vote Thursday morning, so this was yesterday morning, to expand Medicaid under the Obamacare provision to expand Medicaid where the federal government covers the bill. So they do that. Then Republicans can't get together. And the reason they can't get together is nuts, right? So you have this Trump Care bill, which they're calling it something, and I'm not calling it that. I'm calling it Trump Care because, you got to own your stuff. And they're so if you haven't seen the picture, you have to find it because it's truly wonderful stuff. Like you can't really like until you see a group of old white men discussing things like maternity and preventative care and drug coverage and hospital stays, but mostly the maternity care and preventative care. That's what they're talking about. That's what the House Freedom Caucus wants to get rid of. They want to get rid of the essential health benefits. They want to make it so that drug companies don't have to cover certain things. It's not mandatory. See, right now it's mandatory. You have to do that. And if you talk to Mick Mulvaney, he basically says you have a couple of things you can do if you don't like the way your states do it. You can move, or you can take 10 years and get everybody who's bad in the legislation out and put good people in. Either way, you'll be fucked for a little while at least. Oh, and that reminds me.
Earmuffs.
And, of course, as always...
Hail Trump!
Indeed. So he met with the House Freedom Caucus yesterday. Kansas votes, the Senate has a voice vote to pass Medicaid expansion. And I know what you're saying. What do those two things have to do with each other? Well, Kansas is as red a state as you can get. It's as red a state as you can get. And that right there goes wholly against what Paul Ryan, but Donald Trump, and all the others want. Now, they're afraid that it's going to get overturned when it gets to Brown back because he's a batshit crazy pants loony buns too. So they want to pass it with a veto-proof majority. That's what's standing in their way. So President Trump meets yesterday with the House Freedom Caucus, right, to try and get them to. He's trying to, the art of the deal, right? This is why we signed this guy up, right? To deal. Get these guys in a room. Do what Obama couldn't do. I'm not saying he couldn't do it. That was what they were saying, is that he couldn't deal with Republicans. Now, we know why he couldn't deal with Republicans, and it had nothing to do with him. It's because he's black, and they didn't want to deal with the black president. You can say that it's not that simple, and of course it's not that simple, but I don't have a lot of time. So he meets with the House Freedom Caucus. they talk about taking away, essential services, ER visits, hospital stays, mental health, maternity, preventative care, drug coverage, on and on and on. They want to eliminate them. Not eliminate them, but eliminate health insurance companies having to cover them automatically. Well, they go in, and the best basically that they can do, because here's the thing. The problem is that if they do this, there are going to be moderate Republicans who are going to jump ship. So they have to do this they have to do it sort of back end. And what they were trying to do is use some weird thing in the Senate where they could bring it up later at the end once the Senate's done amending and messing with it even more. And they could later bring it in and say that, these things are useless. We can now vote it out and just get rid of it there. They promised to do that. And that apparently wasn't good enough for the House Freedom Caucus because they bailed. And Trump had to call the vote off. They had to call the vote off. 17 days, I believe, is what I saw from soup to nuts. From start to finish, this colossal foobarred attack on healthcare took 17 days. From soup to nuts. From writing to floor vote, 17 days. It wouldn't be a Republican thing if you didn't have a senator saying something stupid. So we'll say that. Pat Roberts, Republican of Kansas, said, I wouldn't want to lose my mammograms, because that's one of the things that would be taken away. Women's services. Because, nobody cares. People only fucking care about breast cancer when a football player is wearing a fucking pink sock or a baseball player swinging a pink bat. Why would we want to have preventative care for our mothers and sisters and wives and girlfriends and friends? Why would we want to have that? To be completely honest with you, everything should be covered. Everything should be covered. If we are all at risk of getting cancer because of our cell phones or the food we eat or the air we breathe or the clothes I wear or the paint I smell or the TV I watch or the computer I look at, then fucking shit, shouldn't every year everybody get a cancer screening? Free? No. And we're not going to require health insurances to cover it. So we have a no vote. Yeah. I mean, folks, look, this is bad. This is bad. Think about Bill Clinton's presidency. You think about a few things, right? But one of them is always his giving Hillary to do the single payer system or healthcare for everybody, and it being a colossal calamity. Obama got his. He got his. And it's working. So much so that people are afraid that they're going to take it away now. The same people who voted him out called him porch monkey, probably. I'm sure some of them did. And yes, I was generalizing, and I don't care. Every president, their first big bill that comes through, their first big achievement has to go off without a hitch. Has to. Because it shows what kind of White House you're running. And right now, the guy whose only qualification for the job was that he could get things done. He was an accomplished businessman. He made deals with many different types of people, and he could bring all those people together and get everybody to get a deal. He couldn't even do it with the people on his own fucking side. He couldn't even do it with Republicans having a massive majority in both the House and Senate. Well, not massive. Sorry, majorities. Massive was a little bit of an overreach. I apologize for that. But majorities, and he couldn't do it. So we laugh today because it's fun. It's fun for us because, look, Obamacare is better. Every single person that you talk to, every single person who did not write for Breitbart or InfoWars or Fox News or Drudge, any person who had a brain knew that the Republican version is absolutely worse. Worse. And so we win. And Donald Trump loses. next up real quick, we got a couple weird stories. Then we're going to get to the batshit thing of the day, which has to do with the Trump care collapsing, which is hysterical because it's just hysterical. We have a weird story. It's not weird. It's just not good, right? Like, again, we have a president who prides himself on being a businessman, yet every decision he's made so far has made people not want to come to his country, the business he's running. Canada, a certain district, a huge district, representing almost 300,000 kids in Toronto, says they are no longer coming to the United States. They have a bunch of trips that have already been pre-approved, and they are coming, but they have decided that until these travel bans don't exist, period, we understand that they are still not passed by the courts yet, but that the TSA agents can pick and choose who they want to pick out and do this with. And they're worried about getting into an American airport or, and having, say, a Muslim kid who happens to be Canadian not allowed into the country because he's a Muslim kid. So they are no longer sending students or teachers to the United States on trips. That's money. That's economy. That's the economy. And let me tell you something. As somebody who lives in Midtown Manhattan, we have definitely been hurt by this. Absolutely been hurt by this. I work in one of the oldest restaurants in this city, and our sales are down considerably because we are over by Trump Tower. Now, the traffic flows more freely now that he's not coming up here, but who knows if he does? What if he decides to come up here over Christmas? It'll be a nightmare. But there are less people here. There are less people going out and spending money here in the United States. And if you don't think New York City is hurt by the fact that Toronto does not want to send their students here, well then, folks, you know my saying. I got a bridge. It's a couple miles from my house. It's fantastic. Gonna have it real cheap. I got the deed right here. This is supposed to be, again, a president who prides himself on being a businessman. He's supposed to be a businessman. He said he was going to run this country like a business, and all he's done is alienated all of his fucking customers. They are our customers. There are major cities in this country that would die if it wasn't for tourism. And not just American tourism, because Americans suck. They're the worst tourists ever. They're cranky, they're bitchy, they're pissed off that the food they're eating isn't like the Olive Garden where they stay at home. I'm talking about the Europeans, the South Americans, people from Africa, people from Asia. Now they're still coming, but they're not coming nearly as much as they were. Not since November. Not since November. And so we have a president who's a businessman who's running our country like the cupcake shop that didn't want to serve the gay people. That has to close because nobody else will go in there because they're fucking bigots. Because they're fucking bigots. And that's what we are. We're the bigots. Why would you want to come and support a country that doesn't want Muslim people to come in? Why would you come here? I don't care. You can just wait 4 years and come then. You're not going to come now. You're going to come later. You don't want to deal with the crap. I mean, if you happen to have brown skin, what the hell are you going to come here for? It doesn't matter what your last name is. So we have a president who's a businessman who's treating his business like a urinal. And the only people that are suffering are us. On to some tempered good news. I mean, it's good news. Like it's nice. It's nice news, right? Let me say that because that's what it is. It's not good because the reason they have to do it is not good, but it's nice news. So Sesame Street, which came out, we talked about this the other day with Julia, their first character on the autism spectrum, is coming out with a character named Alex. And Alex has a unfortunate problem as well, and that's that his father is in prison. And the reason they had to do this is because 1 in 28 children have a parent in jail. 1 in 28 children have a parent in jail. What? So Sesame Street, being the wonderful, wonderful thing that they are, decides to make a kid whose father's in prison and can deal with those issues so that kids whose fathers and parents are in prison know that they're not alone. They're not alone. And trust me, they are not alone. 1 in 28 kids, a lot of goddamn kids. Think about if 1 in 28 people had cancer. If 1 in 28 people had one parent. It's a lot of people. And so, as per usual, Sesame Street is ahead of the curve. They aren't afraid to tackle these issues. Now, it has taken them time. I'm not going to lie. This isn't stuff they could have necessarily done 30, 40 years ago. But I don't know if we knew as much as we did. I think we knew. I just don't know if we knew. Does that make sense? The internet has really sort of helped us learn a lot about what's going on in our own country because it was hard to hear news. Like in the 80s, when you didn't have the internet, your local news was local. And you had a couple national stories if they were big things like Reagan bombing something or Clinton, you know what I mean? But you didn't know what was going on in Alabama. You didn't know what was going on in Arkansas. Now you know what's going on everywhere, and you see that it sucks everywhere. And so Sesame Street decides to help a kid who sits at home, whose mother or father might be in prison, and shows them that they are not alone and that it's okay and that it's not your fault. And that's why Sesame Street rules. Now, apparently he won't be one of necessarily the main characters. That doesn't necessarily mean he won't be on the show. He apparently is going to be heavily on the online toolkit, which I don't know what that is. I don't really watch Sesame Street. That would be weird. But it doesn't matter. Having the Julia, the character on the autism spectrum, having Alex, whose father's in prison, it's important. It's important to show that. For both, to show kids who are not on the autism spectrum how to, I hate to use the word deal, how to behave around somebody who is, or to show the person on the autism spectrum that there are other people like them when everybody else might seem different. And that's what Sesame Street does. They are inclusive, not exclusive. And that's why they've been around as long as they have.
It's time for the Batshit.
Hail Trump!
It means that what the Jews have, we have.
The word.
Crazy Pants.
Perpetual war, corruption, and pedophilia party.
Help! Help! I'm being repressed.
For some reason, homosexuality has become the issue for the left. It's satanic.
Brain games is now over.
Thing of the day. Oh, kids, do we have a thing of the day for you or what? Of course we do. And as we like to try and do, we do like to try and not always come full circle, but when it does work out in my favor, I am absolutely always going to do it. So when we find out today, now this was yesterday. No, was this yesterday? This was this morning, I believe, on the 700. Oh, yesterday. Yesterday on the 700 Club, Pat Robertson got on the air, and look, here we go. Listen, from the mouth of babes.
I have a prediction to make. You can hold me to it. If I'm wrong, you can say you missed it. The health care bill is going to pass. It's getting modified. The Freedom Caucus is going to get the modifications they're asking for. We're going to talk to David Brody to see what actually is there. But my prediction is it's going to pass. They're going to give Trump a victory. It's going to go through the Senate, and we are all going to rejoice that we're paying less on health care. Now, that's my prediction, and wait till tomorrow. You can prove me wrong if I'm wrong.
You heard it here.
You heard it here. Well, I knew that the Lord was going to give Trump victory, and I was arguing, people were arguing with me, no, he can't win. Yes, he's going to be the next president. Oh, no, he's going to win.
Well, we had that fascinating guest on that talked about, Cyrus biblically and how
I had it
God
before the
used him.
fascinating guest, but I mean, before the election, they're going to get it. I mean, they're going to give it to the president. Mark my word, it will pass. They'll get those extra votes. It'll go through and everything. They're going to work together to give a tremendous health care.
Yeah. Oh, Pat. You got to keep doing it. I knew the Lord was going to give Trump a victory. Really? I'm starting to think that the Lord you're listening to is a false God, my friend, because you're wrong more than you're right. And you always say that the Lord told you these things. And here's the problem. The Lord is supposed to know everything. He's supposed to be everywhere. He's supposed to be everything, right? And if that were true, he would literally never be wrong. Ever, 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 ever. Which means anytime the Lord told you something or showed you something or revealed something to you, if he chose you to do that, it would be true. And if you said it, it would then happen because it would be true, because it would be said by the God. Do you understand? So when you say things, well, you just say things because you're, a lunatic. But still, when you say things and then you say, oh, you can kill me if I'm wrong. And if you would have just said, me, Pat Robertson, I think this, all right, fine. It's your job to think that. You are a Republican shill dressed in a preacher's clothing. It is your job to say that. It is my job to make fun of you. See how it's a beautiful thing, guys. It's a beautiful thing. Let's just keep rolling. Let's keep it going. So Pat, he knew the Lord was going to give Trump a victory. Except he didn't. Not yet, anyway. Now, here's the problem. If the health care passes in like 8 months, he's going to be like, see, I told you. The Lord told me. It's God's time. It's always God's time. And that's how they always win an argument. Because there's no logic to it. There's no reason they don't actually win the argument. But you can't fight with a phrase with somebody who believes something and says that it happens in their time. How do you can't argue with that? It's literally an unarguable point. Because they won't be able to have their mind changed. Because if you did change their mind, they wouldn't be religious anymore. So, Pat, you were wrong. You were wrong. Oh, my God, you were so wrong. It is beautiful. You were so wrong. That it's really delicious. I think might be the best way to put it, right? Just deliciousness, Just delicious. Thank you, Pat, for making my Friday evening delicious. Just delicious. Delicious. Anyway, thank you so much for listening to the Batshit Crazy Pants Super Show. I am, of course, Matt Stevens. I don't think I said this before, but you can follow me on the Twitter at TheMattShow365. You can also do the same on Facebook, Facebook.com/TheMattShow365. Hopefully, I'm just waiting for iTunes to tell me when they'll be up, and then you can just subscribe there and do that. If you want to listen Sunday night, 7 o'clock, doing the musical show, I'll be doing comedy songs, and then hopefully early next week we'll be back Monday with Super Show, and then hopefully Wednesday with sports. Monday, Tuesday Super Show, Wednesday sports. Thank you so much for listening. Have a good and safe weekend. Farewell, everybody.
Farewell and adieu to you fair Spanish ladies. Farewell and adieu, you ladies of Spain. For we've received orders for to sail back to Boston. And so never more shall we see you again.